Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 26 of the Board Game Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
So this week, we're going to be doing our top 9 game room essentials. I just moved into a new house, and the big thing happening in my house is the whole basement living room is going to be my board game room. And Carla, your daughter moved out, and your son is relocating downstairs, so you're getting a board game room as well.
Well, I do have a little games room. Not that I play in it, but that's where I store my games. And now I have a little solo campaign room as well. So still not big enough for a table, like to host people. But once a couple of years when my son's gone, then the basement will be my games room again. So some of these things are wish lists that I would like to have.
Well, okay, sounds good. Perfect. So before we get into that, tell us, what have you been playing?
I got to play Great Western Trail, the second edition. I had traded that for a used... It was actually new in shrink, but I traded it for a used game I had. And I do already own Great Western Trail, the first edition, but I did want to get the second to compare and see which is the better. And I think the second one is better. The board changes a little bit on the top. So this is a game where it's a big rondelle, and you are moving along this trail, and you are buying cattle or hiring workers. And the whole point of it is you get to the end of the trail and you will sell your cattle off, and you want to have unique cattle. So it's a kind of a deck builder as well. So on every turn, you'll be using cattle to collect some money or whatnot. And then you'll draw back up to, like, you start with 4 cards. And by the end, you want to have all unique cards, because then they all add up. And that's how much money you'll make. And that's like the higher the total, the further you can deliver to, which gives you more points at the end. There's a lot more involved in this one, but it is a really fun game. I don't know. Have you played Great Western Trail?
I have played it the one time, and I did enjoy the whole trail portion of collecting the cows, and you're trying to kind of force people to go down a certain way where you've got stuff set up that would benefit you to go that way. So that whole part I found interesting, until when you got to the end, and that whole train track portion, to me, just like, why did they add that in here? It just seems like, and then let's add some extra stuff. It just didn't seem to fit quite as well as the rest of the game itself. But like I said, I've only played it the one time, so maybe it grows on you, but...
Yeah, it does start to make more sense after a couple plays. Like, the whole point of the trains it's one of the workers is an engineer, and so they will move you along faster. And if you can get further down, then you can deliver to better sites, kind of thing. So the further you get, like one time I did a whole engineer strategy and I got to the end of the track, and I think I doubled the points of everyone. I didn't even know like that was going to be a good thing. But I must have comboed with some other things, but it was nuts. Like, I could go into every little stop, because as you're going along that track, there's little stops you can make, and then you can get big points there or drop off one of your workers and take some end game point chips. And I think those is what really multiplied my points. But this time I tried a cowboy strategy, and it worked as well. Like, it was kind of neat, because I just had all this cattle, and they give you points as well. So there's a bunch of different paths to victory in this game. And you can choose one straight, basically, or, you kind of do one really hard and then a little dabble in a little bit of the others. But it's really neat. I really like that one. Another one I played was the Guild of Merchant Explorers. Now, this one was by Matt Dunstan and Brett Gilbert. And they've done quite a few different games, like all over the charts. They don't really stick to kind of like one thing. And this one almost felt like a roll and write, but it wasn't a roll and write. You use little cubes and you track your trail, and it's, I think, 3 rounds. And so you're kind of building things as you go, but then at the end of the round, you pull off all these cubes, and if you have built some villages or other things, they stay, and then you can build off from there. And I had just heard so much good hype about this, and I thought, geez, I got to try this one, because people say if you really like Trails of Tucana, which is a roll and write that I really enjoy, this is like kind of up that alley. And it's really neat, but it has some end game scoring cards. And then you also get these abilities, like you'll get one the first round, one the second, one the third. And the first one, you'll get to activate each round and the second and third, and the third, you'll get to activate like all 3 of them. So it's kind of neat. But it's really interesting. And it comes with 4 different maps. So it really changes up the game. And there's a bunch of different scoring cards and all kinds of terrain that you're going to like add your cubes to. Little treasures that you can cover up. And then you get this card, and it can be like end game points, or it can be just a bonus that you get to add more things, add more cubes. It's really neat. I was really impressed with that one. And another one we tried another campaign of Endangered, or a scenario, not a campaign. We tried to save the turtles this time. And we actually did. We saved them. We did play on... Yeah, it is. It's just a dice placement. But it's a really good 2-player because you're just like working together, it doesn't have the pandemic recipe, but it kind of feels kind of like that because you have to work together, and there's always bad things at the end of your turn that you have to you might have to kill off some animals, or you might have to put, like with the turtle scenario, it's garbage you place around them, and they don't want to be like too close to the garbage, or if you have to place another one and there's nowhere to put it, then you have to kill off some turtles. So it's really thematic, and it's neat. And all kinds of animals come in the expansion. Like the first base game just comes with tigers and otters. And then the expansion comes with like polar bears, turtles. I think there's leopards. There's fish. There's a type of bird. There's all kinds of animals it comes with. And then there's a whole little giant panda scenario too that you have to buy separate, of course. But so we're working our way through those, but it's a pretty cool game. I like it. What about you? What have you been playing?
I haven't. I haven't played hardly anything at all. Oh, no. It's been horrible. The last actual real game I played was at Malcon. That's
oh my gosh. Okay.
a really long time ago.
Well, here's a question then.
I did
if you could play anything right now,
I did end up playing the one game of Class. I was asking how.
Oh, that's right. You did.
I was like, let's play something. He's like, no. He's like, well, I'll play Class. I was like, okay, fine. So we played. Which is basically, it's kind of like air hockey. You have this little table, and you have this magnetic piece on the top that you control from underneath. So you're kind of blind as to where this is moving. And you're trying to get the ball into the other player's goal, I guess, and avoid getting these little white magnets onto your piece. So we played a few rounds of that, but that's been it. So I figured instead of talk about the games I played, I'd talk about the games I got. That's a much more.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So Marvel Dice Phone came in. So that was one that I had gotten actually as a Christmas gift. Lee kickstarted it for me, and he said, "Well, I'm gonna have to tell you because you're gonna get it for yourself." So that one's come in. It's been sitting on the table. I haven't been able to get to it. I bought the whole set of Paco games. I think there's 18 games in there. And they're all like the size of a little pack of gum. So, and I was watching Z Garcia do reviews on them, and I'm really excited for those. And then the copy.
Yeah, there's some really good ones. I have one of those little games, but I've looked into a few of them. Some are really good.
Yeah, they look cool. So, and just the tiny aspect make it so cute, right? So. I'm excited to watch it. I bought that, but it's at Michael's house right now, so I need to go pick it up. I purchased Discoveries, the Journals of Lewis and Clark from our friend Ashley. So, and it kind of looks like a dice placement game, like where you can kind of utilize other people's dice, but they can recall their dice. Like you're on an expedition, you're kind of mapping the U.S. With Lewis and Clark. But you have all these dice, and technically you can use any dice, but some dice are more loyal to your character, while some dice are more loyal to the other player characters, and then you can recall some dice that you might have been hoping to use because they were on there. So it looks really interesting, but I haven't played it yet. And then I found a copy of Pandemic: The Cure, so I'm super excited for that.
Oh, you did?
A friend of mine was telling me, so that's at Michael's house right now too. I go pick it up. And then in the middle of moving, we've been replacing a lot of appliances and kind of doing a lot of tiny renos in here. And we replaced the fridge. the fridge that was in here worked great. The dishwasher was broken, so we replaced the dishwasher with this stainless steel one. So we're replacing all the appliances then. And then a close friend of mine just posted that his fridge broke down. And he was asking if anybody had a fridge to sell for cheap or to trade so he's trading me games. I got 16 games coming from my old fridge.
That's hilarious.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, so they're not, most of these games aren't here yet, but I've kind of made arrangements. We'll be probably picking them up tomorrow. So I just need to get my board game room set up, then I can get playing again. Which actually brings up to our top 9. So we're going to be talking about the top 9 game room essentials, things that we feel are essential in the board game room. So, Carla, what's your number 9? Or do you have any honorable mention, I should ask?
No, actually, I don't. I have just 9.
All right,
and my number 9 is the first thing for me that is important in a games room is the heating or the cooling. So, and what I mean by this is either air conditioning or a warm space, because I have played games in a room where I absolutely froze. And it was one of those days where we literally played all day. We got there at 10 o'clock and we played till 10 o'clock and I sat there freezing the whole time. And it really almost ruined my game day because all I'm thinking about is I'm just absolutely freezing. Like I can't relax.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was weird. And that's why I put it on here. It kind of sounds like a strange thing.
But it makes sense.
For me, I can't play in heat, in a really hot, sweaty place. Like sometimes one year there was a convention. I think it was Gobfest one year. It was so hot in there and it's sweaty and it was muggy and it was awful. We had to play in a different room. That one was too hot. So that one is a big thing for me is the temperature. You know, in the winter, I want it relatively warm, not hot. I'm not one that needs a lot of heat, but a little bit in the winter. And in the summer, I need it to be a little bit cooler. So yeah, for me, my number 9 is proper temperature, not too cold or too hot.
It's not this year, but last year, where we had that horrible heat wave. And it was so hot, and it was
I think that's when it was.
People in the house, and it's super hot. So I got fans set up. I've got the little portable AC unit set up, and it was still gonna. Yeah, so that totally makes sense. I never even thought of that, but you got to be comfortable. So that was your number 9. My number 9 is pens, dry erase markers, and paper. There'll always be a game where it's okay, let's calculate that, and I'll sometimes use the app, but sometimes, depending if it's a card game and stuff, and you're keeping score as you go, you need to have pen and paper kind of available. A lot of the roll and writes, I've laminated my sheets, and a lot of them now comes laminated. Now, a lot of them will come with dry erase markers, and that's great. And most of the time, they tend to be decent ones. But I just today bought Expo Ultra Fine Tip dry erase markers that will be really small, so you can get a little bit more detail. So I'm excited for that. I also bought erasable pens for playing cartographer. Because every time we played, we would kind of put something down, oh wait, I'm supposed to be next to a mountain, and then you kind of cross it, and it looks all. So having erasable pens for that made a huge difference for that game. So that's my number 9: pen, dry erase markers, and paper.
Awesome. My number 8 is appropriate snacks. So when I usually have a game day, other than during the week, if it's just a couple hours, we usually will play, say on the weekend, we'll play for a good 6 to 8 hours sometimes. And so we'll either kind of do a potluck, or if I do have an early supper, then we have snacks. We try to have appropriate ones that we can actually eat while we're playing. I won't bring a bowl of the soft Cheetos or salsa and nachos to the table. It's fine if they're kind of off to the side and people kind of stand over there. But some people are okay with, anything, pizza, whatever. as long as you're kind of like not, leaning over the table. But for me, like, I don't mind eating while we're playing games because it's just relaxing too. But you have to be careful. Or drinks as well. Like, I know me and my daughter were playing was it Vinos? Vinos or viticulture. No, it was Vinos. That's right. We were playing Vinos one day and we were drinking wine while we were playing it and literally tipped the whole glass of wine all over the board. And I was like, oh my God. But those games from Eagle Griffin are made so awesome that it literally just wiped it off the board. Like, it was like such a linen finish that nothing stained. I even got some on some of the cardboard or like pieces, and no, there was no stain. But I'm sure any other game or many other games that would have been terrible disaster. Yeah. So for me, like, I wouldn't literally have people have a wine glass at the table anymore while we're drinking. We have like, Yetis or something with a cover because I'm very clumsy. Obviously, I was the one who spilt the wine glass. But so yeah, for me, it's appropriate snacks that we can eat while we play. Oh, and the one thing, this is the funny, when we went to our first convention, I went with my friend Cherry, and she bought for us this big bag of mini eggs. And we learned wingspan there for the first time, and she pulled out the mini eggs. So we were eating mini eggs as we're playing wingspan. And then we're like, oh, is this real ones? Or are these the candy ones? You'd have to like smell them to make sure we're not eating the plastic, the components. So those are kind of our tradition now at all conventions. Funny. We bring mini eggs. But that was my number 8, appropriate snacks.
We played Catan. I played Catan with my sister and our friend once. We had chocolate-covered almonds at the table. And she had chocolate-covered almonds in one hand and the dice in the other and deciding what she wants to do. And then all of a sudden, she popped the dice in her mouth. And then she just realized what she did and started screaming and spitting in her mouth like,
oh my gosh.
Oh, so yeah, there's hazards. That's snacks, but
definitely.
Yeah, it sounds good. My number 8 is music. I like when we're playing games to have something playing in the background. Not super loud. Not, like very distracting music, but just to have something in the background. Mostly when you're playing like a game that kind of has more downtime and you're sitting and thinking or looking or whatever, and then just to have that ambiance music going in the background, I think that sets the mood. Then, honestly, we'll play like Tiny Epic Quest and play Zelda music.
That's awesome.
We'll play like
you set the theme
games, and then we'll play like exactly. So every once in a while we'll do that as well. So that's my number 8, music.
Awesome. There's also like I don't know if it's an app or something where it's called Mellow Dice.
There is. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
It's Mellow Dice, I think.
Yeah, something.
And you can actually.
It is. Yeah.
Is it Mellow Dice? Yeah. You should remember that. And then, and you just type in the game, and it has like a playlist or something like that. I can't remember. I do like music with mine. Cool. I don't have any good playlists, so I always forget to like at my house. I always forget to like put something on. But when we're other places and music is going, like it kind of helps you think too. Just like when you're studying, they say to play some music.
Yeah,
it helps your brain. So that's a good one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out Mellow Dice. Yeah, I've come across it, and then I always forget once I'm playing, but I'll make sure to set that up.
Yeah, nice. So that's your number 8. My number 7 is a variety of games. I love my variety. I'm not one of those people, and I know you aren't either, who plays one game 10 times, like in a row. We have too many to do that. We have too many kids. We can't favor one. So I like a variety. And, I see some people too. I have one friend who like buy a game and literally play it 10 times, then sell it. And I'm like, well, give it a month. Put it on your shelf for a month. That was a good game you just sold. Like, you might want to play it again eventually. Like, I won't get rid of games unless I absolutely know I don't want to play them again, or a friend has them and I have easy access to them. Like, I don't, if I like a game at all, I'll keep it, because even if I don't play it in a month, 2 months, 6 months, there's there's a time I'm going to play it again. So a variety of games. If you go to someone's house who's hosting, I mean, usually people will bring games and stuff too, but the ideal games room has a huge variety of games for me. That's my number 7.
Sure. You never know who you're going to be playing with, the number of people that's going to be there, the type of players, what you're going to be in the mood for. So I definitely like to have a large variety. And you know what? My list, just to kind of skip ahead here, I forgot to put games. I don't have games on my list at all.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It's kind of assumed that they will be there. But I know for me too, I'm a person who, like you said, you have for different tastes. And like, I will see a game and I'll be like, oh, this person I know is going to like this. I'm going to buy it for when they come and play. And I have games for like 100 different people that will probably never come to my house and play. But
I do that.
have a game for them.
Especially and themes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, Jerome would like that theme. Oh, Patrick will like that thing. Like I bought Ruby, which is like a cooperative card battle game that's based on an anime series called Ruby.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've watched it because Patrick made me watch a couple of episodes. It was horrible. But like the earlier episode, for some reason, only the main character have faces, and all the other characters in the backgrounds don't. It's kind of what is going on? Not the artwork in that one. It looks just so weird. But he loved it, and then just the fact that we had that's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, let's play Ruby because it appeals to him, right? So yeah, and that's where having a variety makes a difference.
Yeah.
That was your number 7.
Yes.
So for my number 7 is our first crossover, and that's snacks and drinks. I am not one, like to me, game night is a social experience. And being an Acadian, that involves food. And I like to have snacks. And I normally do game night and I say potluck snacks. Everybody kind of brings whatever they want. If you're uncomfortable with having food on the table, then get little TV trays that goes kind of off to the side. And sometimes I'll do that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I don't limit food around my games. I put very little restrictions on that. And drinks. Mostly, the longer you're gonna play, then like you gotta have to sustain those needs, right? Like at some point, you're gonna need to drink something or play or eat something as you play. I'll just be like, okay, well, I'm famished. I'm going to leave now. But yeah, so that's my number 7, snacks and drinks.
Awesome. My number 6 is good lighting. So I always play in my kitchen right now. I've used to have terrible lighting in there for game playing. I mean, maybe for dining, it's considered nice because it was like I had like I don't know if they still call them chandeliers, but then the light would actually go up. So it shone up to the ceiling instead of down. Yeah. So we did switch out our lighting and now I shine down on the table and it's so much easier on my eyes. I've got over 40-year-old eyes. So the reading of cards, sometimes there's some really small print that is a little trickier and I need to wear my reading glasses. But if I have the proper lighting, I don't really need them all the time. So I love it when there's like great lighting. Like we used to also go to this cafe that wasn't really a cafe. It was just in a community hall kind of thing or like a smaller community part. And the lighting in there was absolutely terrible. Like it was dark. So some of the games by the end of the night, you're just like, oh, we can't play that one because you have too much reading or, you really need to see stuff. So for me, lighting is really important that you can see. And I mean, you don't want too much of a light so it'll glare on the table or cards either. It's kind of tricky. And and a lot of content creators, like I think there's been episodes on just lighting, like they'll give you tips on the best kind of lighting. Like I don't know what they are, but once I get my games room downstairs, I will definitely look all that up and see which is the best lighting for a games room. That's my number 6. Lighting.
Sounds great. My number 6 is component containers. You have so many games now, like games stand out so much for having neat components, so you see more and more components. And a lot of times just like, oh, well, stack them over here and then stack them over there. And they're just kind of like a little bit all over the place, but they get all mixed together. I like to have little containers to kind of put everything in so it stays organized on the table and on the game. And with the, like, honestly, the component, like, and there's a lot out there. You can buy these fancy little wooden ones that kind of magnetize to each other, and you have these little wooden bowls. You can buy these, I think they're called trades with the Z, that have like, like, so
the games trays.
yeah, so you can kind of put all the different ones. Honestly, the ones I use are from the dollar store.
Mm-hmm.
They're just plastic little containers, and I like when they all stack really neatly, so you can just kind of stack them together, put them aside, and when you need them, you bring them out. And then it just keeps the game organized, and it's easier to pour, like, okay, when you're done the game, well, all these ones in there goes in this bag, so you can just easily put everything back. So it makes the setup easier, and then it's, like the pack up easier as well. So I really like to have, you'll see people that will use those like silicone muffin containers. There's all sorts of stuff that you can use, but I like stuff that can be stacked easily. If you're going to be traveling, going from game event to game event, then the silicone ones where it's not going to get wrecked or being shoved somewhere makes a lot of sense. But that's my number 6, component containers.
That's a good one. I didn't have that one on my list, but I'm a big fan of those too. I have those game trays that I use, or if I'm only need a few components, I have these ceramic ones that have little compartments that I'll put on the table. They're kind of like, they're just black and really simple looking. And I'll use those. But if I need a whole bunch of different ones, then I really like the games trays because you can use the bottom and the lid. And then you have like, they're all the same, and it's black. All the components are very easily seen in the black ones, and they stack really nice too. So that's a good one. That was your number 6. So my number 5 is dry erase markers. That's a crossover. I play a lot of roll and writes. I wouldn't say I have lately, but during COVID, that was our bread and butter. Like, especially when we'd go into lockdown, me and my friend Cherry, we would actually over Zoom. I probably have about 50 roll and writes. And I would literally laminate all these pages, drop them off at her house, and then we'd get the Zoom hooked up, and I'd have like my iPhone just like looking over the board and roll the dice, and we would play those like 2-3 times a week. We'd play them. And then after a while, you're like, okay, some of the roll and write games, you need like thicker markers to like fill stuff in. And then there's somewhere you really have to draw numbers in small boxes. So you want really, really fine tipped pens. And then some you want colors, like if you were playing cartographers and you have laminated sheets, then you want the colors. So there's all kinds of things. So I have all of them. I've got the big thick ones you need to fill stuff in. I've got colored ones. I've got fine print colored ones. I've got fine print black ones. But they are a necessity for just to be able to play a roll and write without paper. I mean, if you're going to use your paper and pencil, you're fine, or a pen. But I like to laminate them because we play them over and over so many times. And that's my number 5, dry erase markers.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, it was already on my list. So, my number 5 are dice trays. I bought a set of 4 that go flat and you staple in the corner. We would play games, and mostly when you play those kind of real-time games with dice, like we would play Escape when you're like rolling the dice and going through. And my sister always sends them flying somewhere. Or you'll play a game and you're rolling the dice, and somebody will always hit something on the board that messes stuff up. So just to have the dice tray where it's like, okay, this is where you aim. This is where the dice goes. And they don't go flying and then be like, oh, but it's a 6. I needed a 6. It's like, no, it hit the floor. Like, you got to reroll. Like, just having the dice tray, first of all, it looks nice. And I've got them where I got like the 4, I ended up buying a second set of 4 with like the purple and the pinks, and like, so just having the different colors. And then we'll always bring them out when we play roll for it, or if we play zombie dice, or if we play dice throne. now with Dice Pro, we'll like coordinate our dice tray to match our character. And then of course Dice Throne has their own dice trays as well that you could purchase that just kind of fits perfect in the game box as well. But that's something I like to have, the dice trays. And then also because Nick, my stepson, was doing fabrication last year and he made me metal dice like when he was doing like the metal work. So he made me these really cool, big, chunky metal dice. Well, I'm not rolling that on my wooden table, so if you have stuff like that, having a dice tray kind of protects the table and stuff as well. So that's my number 5 dice tray.
That's a good one. I didn't include that on here, and only for the fact I love dice trays, but it seems like the people I play with, they never want to use them. I'm like, but it's so nice. And I have a game coming on Kickstarter where I think I ordered like 4 for the game so we can each have them. But I don't know why I'm the only one who likes them. Like I have a big wooden one that has felt in it that we can use. And then I've got those ones, like the snap together ones. Like I love using them when I'm playing Roll and Write solo. I always use them because those dice are going everywhere. Like, and I mean, I don't understand why people don't enjoy them, but I like them too. So good choice.
Yes.
That was your number 5. My number 4 is a really good game table. No, I don't have one. I just have a normal kitchen table. But my dream will be to have a game table where, it's an inset one. I don't want it too deep. Like some of them are quite deep and you kind of have to lean over. But where you can have the game set up and literally cover it up and then like it's out of sight kind of thing, which I think is nice because then you can use it as a table too, right? If my kitchen table ever breaks, I'm secretly get a game table and not let my husband know until one day I open up, take the lid off and be like, oh, surprise, it's also a game table. But no, I just think they're awesome because some of them have cup holders, some of them have dice towers, they have like card holders on them. Ooh, which is one thing I forgot in this list is I love card holders too for certain games where you kind of have to refer to them, but you don't want them in your hand. But anyway, a game table. I would really like to have a game table one day. And when I have my games room in the basement in a few years, I will have one. That's my number 4. Game table.
My number 4, I put a neoprene mat. I have a big one. I think is like a 3x4. And I really like it. And I had a really hard time finding the mats because every time I would look for a nice neoprene mat to kind of cover the table that you're going to play on. Now, of course, the game tables have those in there already. But I use my dining table as my main table. And it was just nicer to have that because, sometimes we'll play cards and then you can't pick up the freaking card. You try to, with that, just having that little cushion makes it easier to kind of pick up the components off the table.
It's awesome.
And then the one that I got, every one I bought, it had really busy image pattern things. And I don't like that. I like to be able to look at the game. When I look down on the table, what I want to see is the game stand out, not the busy pattern on the big mat behind it. And I ended up finding one.
I agree. Right? I totally agree.
And I ended up finding one that had it's like a...
Yeah, some people love that.
You lose your game. You're looking over and then it's so busy. And I like a nice plain background so that what you look down at is the game, the artwork of the game. So I found one that is kind of like a dark gray pattern on black. So it's very, it's just, there's a bit of a pattern there, but that's it. And it has a really nice edge finish. It's all, I don't know, sutured or there's some sort of stitch all around the edges. So it's not going to come fray or anything. And I really like it. I got to remember what it's called, Game Mat or something like that. I ended up buying it. It was $70 or something on Amazon. And to me, that was completely worth it. And that's my number 4, a nice neoprene game mat.
That's a good choice. My number 3 is comfy chairs. I like to, because you're sitting in them for a long time. They don't have to be big, cushy things, just something that isn't totally awful. Because if you're going to be sitting there for 7-8 hours, you want maybe a little bit of cushion, something like to have your back. It's hard to sit on a bench for, 7 to 8 hours, but comfy chairs are a big thing. And like I have dining room or like our kitchen table chairs they're decently comfortable, but that'll be another thing. When I get my game table, I will get like gaming chairs where you can literally sit there for all day if you have to, if you have a full day of gaming. That's my number 3.
Perfect.
Chairs.
My number 3 is shelves. Now I have a couple. I have one Calyx that's 5x5, and then 2 of them are 1x4s, and I have an Expedite, which is actually the previous version of the Calyx, and it's a little bit thicker around the edges, and I think it's more solid than the Calyx, so it's a little bit more sturdier, I guess. We just moved all my shelves to the new house. I'd say some of them are, during the move, were a little bit wobbly. I should have taken them apart. I didn't. We're lazy. It was a lot of work, so we just moved them whole. And yeah, I was kind of like, ooh. I don't think it would take another move. While the Expedite one, even though this is like its 4th move, it's still holding pretty good. But they, cutting costs and stuff, they've changed the.
Oh, wow.
But what I like about this one is each cubby is 13 by 13 by 16, I think. And that's what I like the most, is that the shelf is so deep. I don't like to put my games on a shelf and they're sticking out. I like them to all be flushed against the sides.
Sticking out.
So, yeah. And some people say, oh, the billy is much better, but the billy is quite shallow. So it doesn't hold the depth of some of these games, and then they're sticking out. So I don't like that quite as much. Now, I also bought a DVD. Like I had this one small DVD shelf that I use for my smaller games, like my Tiny Epic game. I bought another DVD shelf, but it's taller, and it's on a Lazy Susan. Like, so it rotates, so there's games on both sides. So for like the same amount of space, you can put twice the games on there. I'm so excited. It's set up and none of the games on there yet. So that's awesome. And it has the adjustable shelf of that one. So for the little card games, you can go nice and small. And then, because right now all my small games are on Calyx size shelves, which, like you have your games just lost in this big abyss. And I'm funny, people will say, oh, well, you got so much room, just, stack some on top of your other games. And because I place all my games vertical. But I don't want to stack horizontal games on top of my vertical games. Like, no. So with the smaller ones, having a little shelf like that's more adjustable, that you can kind of go tightly and then just, yeah. So, I didn't realize I was so picky about shelves. It turns out I am. So that's my number 3, shelf.
Yeah, well, and especially during the move, you're really feeling it right now because you're putting the shelves in empty and seeing how everything can fit in.
I should mention my
I agree with
geometric one I just bought.
That one's really cool. That's perfect for little games.
It'll be kind of like a different. I don't know how I'm going to fill this in. This is my only game that's on the shelf at this time. The one I bought, the Discovery. But I bought this one. It has all these weird geometric shapes in there. Like, it's not just a straight shelf. And it's just, I figured in the videos that I do, like, it'll be a more interesting background. And then I can kind of put all the different games. We'll see how I arrange it. But yeah, so I think shelves makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Carla, awesome. Actually, talking about shelves, I have a quick question for you. How do you organize your games?
Well, one of my shelves I did by color. I did the, blending into each color. That was my bookshelf that I did that. And then my Calyx-like shelves are kind of by designer, most of them. If I have like a whole Calyx for a designer kind of thing, but not all of them. I mean, some games I don't have a bunch from a designer.
Yeah.
But this one behind me is mostly mostly designer or same shape games too. Like if it's the boxes are kind of all the same shape.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. And then I have like an armoire that has like all my Lacerda games stacked like upright because they don't fit in a Calyx shelf. Well, they might fit, but they'll stick out for sure because they're such big boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so mostly designer. But I'm getting a new shelf. So I'm going to move my bookshelf over here and put a whole other, like, mine aren't Calyx, they're from Yisk, but they're pretty similar to the Calyx, like the square one. So I'll have a whole new shelf. So excited. John's like, what? What are you going to put on that shelf? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Don't worry about it.
He's like, maybe I can put my books there. I'm like, no, you're not putting your books there.
You know what I did? I was well over, like, I don't know, a few months ago, and then my game collection kept growing, and I'm looking at my shelves, and then the one that I had in the bedroom had some books on there. And I got looking at them, and I'm like, I don't need these books. I got rid of all the books just to make more games. I have e-readers.
Well, yeah, I read rule books. I don't read books. I used to have like all his books on some of the shelves, like the bookshelves, and then I slowly would fill them with games, and some of the books would end up in the storage room, and now all the books are in the storage room. So when my son just moved downstairs, when my daughter moved out, he's like, oh, there's that whole shelf now. I can put books on there. Like, it's already filled. Sorry.
Well, like at the new house, we have this one wall where I was like, oh, well, that could fit a 5x5 here. I could put it there. But we couldn't because there's a thermostat, and I don't want to cover up the thermostat. I was like, oh, okay, then we'll put a smaller one there. And when we were painting around this thermostat, and we went into the electrical room to kind of see. Turns out this thermostat's not plugged into anything. We're like, oh. So ripped it out. I have a whole wall now that I could replace with a nice big shelf.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no shelves. I didn't have that on my list, but those are very important. They are like a gamer's, I don't know what you could call it. Like it's a necessity. We need shelves and we need more and more shelves.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a kind of a never ending thing, but very good one. That was your number 3.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. My number 2 is upgraded components. I love upgraded components. And I'm talking about just like even the resources or metal coins, iron clays, like anything. I love to have bling in my games. I'm not a jewelry person. I don't wear jewelry. I mean, I wear like a wedding ring and that's basically it. I have a few necklaces or bracelets that I never wear. But for Mother's Day, I said to my husband, like, well, what do you like? Do you have any ideas? He's like, no, give me some ideas. And so I showed him this Game Found page of top shelf gamer upgrade components. Nice. And so that's what he got me for Mother's Day was these upgraded components. So I had also ordered some like just from Top Shelf. And I actually had him at Melcon. I had him in this big organizer. I saw that, and I was showing people, I'm like, this is my jewelry. This is what I spend money on instead of diamonds and whatnot.
It was great,
but I love my metal coins too. I bought the Viticulture coins, was the first metal coins I bought, and I use them for almost every game. And then some other games since then I have bought metal coins because sometimes you need like higher values or whatnot. But I love using metal coins. And then even the iron clays for like Western games or like Vegas betting games. The poker chips are just awesome. I love using them. And the Roxley iron clays are so thick and just like a perfect weight.
It just has that satisfying.
So nice. Love them.
It's so satisfying to play with.
Yeah.
I've got... actually, Lee got me for my birthday one year slide coins, and I bought actually 2 sets of those. So I have.
Oh, those are nice.
Yeah, so I have a whole set of slide coins. I don't own the game; I just have the coins, but it's kind of put aside all of the other stuff. So when we play a game that's like a coin game, like we bring out the metal ones, and it makes such a big difference. It's just it just improves the play somehow.
It does. It just makes it feel, I don't know, like elegant or something. It's so nice when you walk by a table, even at a convention, and somebody pulls out their upgraded stuff and it's all set up and you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
like, or even 3D printed stuff. Like, remember I was telling you about that Emotep game where this guy had everything 3D printed for that and everything stacked perfectly. And it was just genius what he did. It was just awesome. But yeah, anything upgraded. I mean, I don't upgrade everything, but if it's a game I'm going to play a lot, I will. I think I've got it covered for all the resources possible now because I've ordered a bunch, like from that Kickstarter. I have a bunch, and then I also bought a bunch of them. So pretty much every game, I think I've got things that I can use. And then now Ashley's 3D printing, and she just ordered Seize the Bean, and she 3D printed all the resources, and they're just awesome. So I'm like, oh, I need some donuts for a game. So she's going to 3D print some donuts. And they look like so cool. So, yeah. What is it? I got to think of her business name here. Her,
it's like creation or something.
Meeple?
I don't know. We're terrible friends.
I'll put it in the comments, but she has a business for 3D printing her like inserts, which are awesome. She's very like particular about her inserts. And so she gets the best ones like off of, I think, Thingiverse or something. And so almost all her games now have these wicked like inserts. You bought a few of her inserts, right?
So I got
for
the inserts.
Tiny Epics?
The games are somewhere in the boxes, so my insert isn't even in the box yet. But yeah, like because
that's another thing I love doing is
well, for like the Tiny Epic game, there's so much in those games, so much that they put in this tiny little box that having something that keeps it all neat and tidy makes sense. So I had her print one of those out. I wanted her to print an insert for Agricola, but I can't remember what version of Agricola I have. And again, it's in a box somewhere. So she's going to do that once I can.
Yeah, she printed a really neat one for that.
Well, I have a 3D printed insert for awesome. Castle of Madkin Ludwig. And it's all like the walls are all like castle walls.
Oh, that needs it.
It looks amazing. So
that's cool. Yeah. And it also helps with setup. Like it can take 20 minutes off your setup with the right
especially
insert.
With the Castle
and that to me is huge.
That box comes a big open box and all the pieces are like loose in there.
Oh, that's a huge setup.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Perfect. So upgraded components.
Yeah, so that's my number two, upgraded components.
Perfect.
Yeah.
My number two is another crossover, and that is lighting. At my old house, where I just moved from, like it was a beautiful place. Like that place was really nice. But when first time we played, we sat down to play, and it was so dim. It was so dim. So right away we went out and we got like
that's hard
100-watt equivalent LED lights and replaced all the lights and still like because there's vaulted ceilings in that house, so then all the lights were so far from it was never great. So at this new place here, I bought lights from IKEA and they're called Floatal. And it comes with the remote, so you can set up the different type of light that you want, whether it's a warmer light or a cool light. And it's like this big square that's going to be right over the table. So my table will be bright without being glary because of the type of light that it is. So it makes such a big difference. You know, it's a lot more fun to play a game when you can actually see the game. So that's my number two light.
Awesome. My number one is a crossover as well, and that is a player mat, or sorry, like a table mat or player mats. Because I don't have the big game table that I want yet, I have a big game mat, and it is a lifesaver. Like you said, picking up cards on a wood table or a metal table, whatever, is a nightmare. And and it doesn't matter if you have nails or you don't have nails. It's like it's impossible either way, but the player mat, it's so easy. They pick up so nice. The boards, like they seem to lay nicer on a player mat. it's like you can put all your stuff on, like, you know, have a section. And some games you can order, or they come with like little player mats where you put your stuff on there, and those are really neat too. But I love my player mat, and I got mine from Boardgame Tables. I did order it from Boardgame Bliss, but they just kickstarted a bunch in the spring. That's where I got my game bags from too. But they are awesome, and they are in stock now at Boardgame Bliss. You can order a bunch of different sizes and colors, but they're awesome. I threw mine in the washing machine, and literally, like, I didn't dry it. I just hung it to dry, but it's almost dry when it comes out, and it came totally clean because I sprayed. Because there's like a few stains in it, like just from spilling like water even or whatnot, and so. It's awesome.
Great. Like it's nothing to
That's my number one player
run a
mats.
wet wipe over and kind of quickly wipe. I always keep also like a lint brush nearby in case it gets dirty. I mean,
I like
neoprene is what wetsuits are made of, so they can get wet, right? So that's great. I agree with your number one. My number one is table and chairs. Now at the old house, we played at my dining table, and I do like my dining table because it goes from a big rectangle to a square. So for big game, it makes a lot of space. But my dining table is a counter type table, which everybody who comes over and play after a while say, okay, my legs are going numb, I can't do this anymore, and then they have to stretch, or they have to, like, they really struggle. I don't get that per se myself, but most people struggle with that table and those chairs. And my chairs are not comfortable. They're hard wooden chairs. I don't think I did. Like, I mean, if you're going to be at it a whole day, this isn't the ideal table or chair for that, for sure. And it's not meant to be, right? So at this new house, this is still my dining table because for a meal, you sit down 30, 45 minutes, an hour maybe. So it's not where we spend the most time. And because I have a designated game room, we ended up buying a table specifically for that. Now, the one thing with this table is that I did like the fact that it went from rectangle to square. This one does not. It's the set size. So, but it's a nice big size. It's a very sturdy wooden table, and then the chairs are cushioned so you can last longer. Eventually, I would like to get kind of more like computer chairs to be really comfortable, but that'd be at a down the road. For gaming table, I don't know. I like the fact that there's the card holders, that there's the drink trays, that's all built in. So having it sunken down, to me, like having to reach down to play your game, I'm not sure how I would feel about that. And I don't want a table. Remember on Tabletop with Will Wheaton when he had his wife over and they were playing, and then she slammed the table and it had a bounce and all the pieces went flying. Like, I want a table that is. They were playing.
I didn't see that one.
And then she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you went there!" She slapped the table and all the trains bounced off. And they had to go back to the recording to put them all back. I mean, and it's just like she didn't hit it hard or anything, but just that circular gaming table had like a bit of a bounce to it. So I was like, I don't want that. Like, I want something big, bulky, and sturdy. So the new table I bought, I just bought it secondhand, but it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a great table. I'm really excited to get it set up. And it's funny because the person who had it had all hand stained it, and they kind of, like, you could tell they put a lot of care into this table, and then they moved and it doesn't fit in their house. so that's when I bought it, but I'm excited for that. So that was my number one, table and chairs. Now, at the beginning, I didn't have an honorable mention list, but as we were doing the list, I did write a few things that came up. We both mentioned this one, a laminator.
Yeah.
Mostly if you're going to play roll and write type games, having a laminator is great.
Yes.
I put inserts.
It's
inserts.
Yeah,
one thing with the inserts that I have, like,
inserts
like
for games
foam,
for sure.
Because you can buy like insert kits, the foam ones, the wooden ones. The wooden ones get really heavy, and you're adding a lot of weight and bulk to your game. I like the foam ones because they're easy to put together and they're really light.
Yeah.
But most of those inserts are not designed to have your game stored vertically, which is what I personally like to do. Yeah, exactly.
No,
So I guess
everything will flip up. Yeah, like
no,
because we like
exactly,
to
right? And I
do
like
this,
vertically
right?
because it's easy to pull a game out
Have
and it's
the
easier to put a game
front-facing
back
ones.
instead of
Yeah.
having, okay, well, I want to play the bottom game, but there's 5 games on top of them, and you shuffle and juggle. And so I prefer vertically for sure. But yeah, with the insert things, they're not always geared towards that. So I guess having baggies is another thing that I would mention. And then I've put decor, just having little game related decor around your gaming area. I bought a couple of signs from our friend Ashley. The one I'm most excited about is a sign that says, yes, I really do need all these board games. And
I won that one too. That one's awesome.
So those are great, just having little things like that. I ended up buying on Amazon as well these little sticky cork pieces, and I'm not going to use it to half a cork. I bought them just to use as decorations, but it's cool because they're the shape of a Catan tile. So they have that game tile shape, and then I'm going to stick them on my wall, kind of create a little pattern that's loosely board game themed, I guess. So those are the few things that
those look really neat.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, this just came up when you say this hexagon thing. I actually just seen on, it was probably Instagram, that this gaming couple had a gaming wedding, and they had everything in the shape of hexagons. Like their arch that they got married in front of was a hexagon. Like the little
cool.
the cake was a hexagon. Like the table centerpiece, like everything. It was so cool. I just thought, oh, that's really neat. And I just texted Ashley. Her business is called The Signs, where she sells the signs, and she does sell them in different board game stores in Calgary and Old so far.
Yeah.
It's called It's a Gal Designs.
Yeah.
And then her inserts, and she also paints minis. She does all kinds of things.
Yeah, she's a
it's called
person
Stacked.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's called Stacked Meeples.
Perfect. We'll
So
put
you
links
can look
to
that
her
up
page on our comments as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what they're called, but they're very neat. And she prints a lot of them because she'll print them as soon as she gets a game, and then sometimes she'll sell the game with the insert, so you get this little bonus. That was really cool.
I've gotten a few games I purchased that had like 3D printed inserts in it, and from Malyle, actually, he had done it for the Gloomhaven game, and I mean, then you open it, it's like, oh wow, oh look, it looks so amazing.
That's a treat, hey?
Yeah,
a huge treat. Some people are like, I'm not spending just as much on a game on an insert. I'm like, hold up, buddy. This guy had said this at one of the conventions. We were all talking about our inserts and upgrades or whatever. And he's like, I'm not going to spend the same amount. I'm like, but if you love the game, it enhances it. It makes your setup 20 minutes quicker. To me, that's worth it. Like, I will
completely
spend
100%.
the money to just open the box and set it out and play it. Love it.
And then I'm at the point where, or I was at the point where it's like, okay, well, I got my board game budget. That's not the issue, but I'm out of space. So pimping up your game at that point, making the games that you really like that much better, makes sense for me at that stage. So yeah, I'm on your side more than that guy.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
awesome.
Next week you're going on vacation. So Carla's going to be away.
I'm going to.
And I'll be.
I'm heading to Invermere for golfing and hiking and biking.
Oh, that sounds great.
Beaching.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm planning on staying home and getting my money's worth out of this house.
Yeah. Well, it'll be kind of like a vacation because it's brand new.
Exactly. Honestly, I'm planning Sunday. This coming Sunday is the day that I am going to be opening my boxes. I've got 23 boxes full of board games right now. Most of those boxes are like 5-gallon boxes. They're huge boxes. I've got my table set up in in my game room. I've got all the shelf on my game room, but they're all empty, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm unboxing my games this Sunday. I'm going to be actually recording it and doing like unboxing videos for each box as if they're all brand new games, as a quick way to kind of showcase my collection. But yeah, so next episode, I'll be going solo. Now, one thing I've done is I have a collaboration going with Games and Couples. And Games and Couples have created this really neat rating system on how to, like, different ways to view a game for playing as a couple and depending on how things are going in the relationship. So I'll be kind of touching base on that rating system a little bit more. And then every week, they do the top, like the game of the week. So to kind of keep with the top 9, I'll do my top 9 favorite game of the week that Game and Couples have showcased so far. So I guess that's it for this episode.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Perfect. So that's it for this time. So thanks so much for listening in. And we will see you next time.
Bye for now. Thanks for listening.